Gateway's Institute of Science and Technology. GIST was established the year 1994, and for 27 years, it is trusted to deliver quality education in 5 notable cities, namely Pasig City, located at 2nd floor Chowking Building, MH Del Pilar Street, corner Coruncho Avenue, San Nicolas, Pasig City. Antipolo City, located at Coga Gate 2, Barangay Bagong Nayon, Marcos Highway, Antipolo City. Mandaluyong City, located at 3rd floor former Jollibee Calentong, corner General Calentong Street and Shaw Boulevard, Barangay Daang Bakal, Mandaluyong City. Quezon City, located at 2nd floor Herminio Building, near Fairview Center Mall, Barangay Greater Fairview, Commonwealth Avenue, Quezon City. And San Fernando City, Pampanga, located at 3rd floor PSP Building, Jose Abad Santos Avenue, North Walk, Barangay Dolores, San Fernando, Pampanga. This institution is registered to the Department of Education with permit to operate senior high school programs like ABM, or Accountancy, Business and Management, HUMS, or Humanities and Social Sciences, HE, or Home Economics, with specialization in cookery, food and beverage services, bartending, and bread and pastry production. ICT, or Information and Communications Technology, with specialization in computer system servicing and computer programming. GIST is also a Center of Technical Development certified by TESDA, or Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, to offer courses namely Information Technology System under TESDA Program of Computer System Servicing NC2, Hotel and Restaurant Services under the TESDA Programs Cookery NC2, Food and Beverage Services NC2, Bread and Pastry Production NC2, and Bartending NC2. In our pursuit to continuously provide quality services, we at GIST are very proud to share serious commitment in all of our undertakings through the development and implementation of Quality Assurance Management System. This initiative was already recognized by Technical Education and Skills Development Authority and awarded GIST as the first TVI in National Capital Region to receive Star Level 1, Center of Technical Development. We at GIST undertake to develop globally competitive skilled workers possessing multifaceted personalities, respect for professional and social ethics, and national values through global standard of education. We focus into the holistic development of every student to become viable in the global arena.
Ano na lang ang wala, ma'am?
In-demand system and discipline. Students are trained to be skillful in their respective field of endeavor, based on the needs of the industry. Satisfaction of customers. In GIST, quality education need not be expensive. For that reason, all senior high school voucher recipients are entitled for no top-up, no down payment, no monthly fee, no hidden charges, and free 3 sets of uniforms if face-to-face classes permit. Technological advancement. We consider students' prominent technical talents and skills aligned with progression. Their talents are showcased in various skills competitions. GIST is in its remarkable triumphs as it proves its commitment to excellence, for we officially represented the National Capital Region for the Philippine National Skills Competition held last December 2021 and bagged the Medallion of Excellence in both restaurant services and cooking. From here on, GIST can aim higher, do better, and achieve greater. GIST is now even more empowered with its partnership with the world's best learning management system, the NEO-LMS, the premier learning management system used globally. GIST students can make use of NEO-LMS for free, with no top-up or additional cost to their voucher and cost to their current tuition and miscellaneous fees. To aid our challenged stakeholders, both students and parents who cannot access the online distance learning, GIST also provides modular distance learning modality. Together with the advanced online distance learning modality through NEO-LMS and improved modular distance learning modality, GIST will make education's new normal a better one. For your queries, please contact us through the following platforms. And reserve a slot through our online reservation using the following links. So what are you waiting for? Be a part of emergent family of GIST. GIST will be of service as its advocacy, your technological partner to global competence.
Let us bow our head and feel the presence of our dear Lord.
We give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because He's given Jesus Christ, His Son. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because He's given Jesus Christ, His Son. And now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich because of what the Lord has done for us. And now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich because of what the Lord has done for us. Give thanks. Sing it. We give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because He's given Jesus Christ, His Son, His Son. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because He's given Jesus Christ, His Son.
Welcome to the TESTA online program. This is Netiquette, Basic Internet Etiquette for e-learning. Before we start with this course, let's go through the basic guidelines in e-learning. Just like in face-to-face learning, to succeed in a virtual classroom, you have to follow instructions, study hard, attend your classes, take notes, submit requirements on time, and participate in activities and discussions. Of course, all forms of dishonesty are still unacceptable and have similar consequences. At the same time, e-learning is different. We don't always get to see each other's faces, our expressions, gestures, and even hear the tone of how we speak, which are important nonverbal cues of communication. So, how do we make sure that we get to communicate and interact effectively with facilitators and learners in our e-learning classes? Well, with Netiquette. Netiquette, or Internet etiquette, is the proper and acceptable behavior in the Internet. It's how we conduct and engage in the online world. Basically, it's manners for the virtual society, and in our case, proper conduct in our e-learning courses. Here are the basic e-learning etiquette that we must observe in the duration of this course. Number 1. Be respectful. Always be respectful and considerate of your fellow netizens when communicating through email, discussion boards, chat rooms, and audio-video conferences. In addition, also be mindful of personal beliefs, backgrounds, spaces, and privacy. Number 2. Take e-learning seriously. As they say, what you put in the internet stays in the internet. Your conduct in the internet reflects who you are, and the same goes to e-learning. That's why it is important to think before you click. Always remember, review and edit before you send or post anything. Number 3. Be presentable. Present yourself properly in all the different platforms. If you will be seen or heard, wear appropriate clothes and make sure that your space is devoid of distractions such as inappropriate backgrounds and loud noises. Number 4. Read first. Read first instructions and scroll through threads before you comment. Do not ask what has already been stated. Ensure that you understand the context of what you are replying to. If you want to clarify something, make sure it hasn't been asked or said before. There might be things that you might have missed, so go through the thread or the text. If things are still not clear, then you may seek clarification. Number 5. Use proper language. When communicating online, please use proper language. Be clear and concise. Check your spelling and grammar, and avoid text speak and slang terms. Number 6. Mind your expressions. Expressing ourselves is very important. However, in the online world, there are times that we can be misinterpreted. Be careful with what you say and how you say it. Do not use caps lock. This can be considered as yelling. As mentioned earlier, use proper language. Also, avoid using emoticons, humor, and sarcasm. This may be interpreted differently. Others may not get it, and some may find it offensive. In addition, choose your words and tone down strong language. Difference in opinion can be settled through calm and courteous language and proper explanation. Number 7. Cite your sources. Ensure that you give credit when you reference something, especially when using quotes and ideas. Please practice proper citation and do not plagiarize. Number 8. Be precise. Be direct, objective, and brief with your comments. Stay on topic and avoid posting or commenting on things not connected to the subject at hand. Number 9. When providing a comment or opinion on the discussion topic, explain your stand and clarify what it means. Support your answer with proper references, but don't forget, be precise. Number 10. Identify what and whom you are referring to. In discussions, topics and comments may overlap. When you are commenting, always refer to the topic and to whom you are addressing the message or comment to. Example, "Hi Carla, regarding what you said about LO5, I agree with you. I think we can develop a rubrics for that." Number 11. Use standard fonts. Avoid fancy and stylized fonts, as this can be distracting. In addition, use proper text sizes. 10 to 12 points are acceptable. Number 12. Prepare for your activities and be on time. Prepare for synchronous activities such as audio-video conferencing and scheduled discussions. Be on time. Respect the time and bandwidth of others. Number 13. Wait for your turn. During audio-video conferencing and live discussions, allow others to finish their statements. Mute your microphone when it is not your turn. Notify the facilitator if you want to speak through the chat feature and wait to be recognized. And lastly, number 14, secure confidential information. Do not share your passwords to anyone and regularly update it. Do not send or share confidential information, most especially in informal platforms. There you go. Keep this in mind and I'm sure you'll succeed in your e-learning course. What are we waiting for? Let's start this class.
Good afternoon, dear scholar.
Good afternoon po.
Good afternoon,
Hi, ma'am.
39 lang tayo ngayon. So,
Good afternoon, ma'am.
yes po, good afternoon din po. Good afternoon sa lahat. Hoping that all of us are in a good condition, all of us are well, walang may sakit, walang may ugot sipon. Kasi nga, sa panahon ngayon, biglang umuulan, biglang lumalamig yung panahon. Okay, so malapit na kasi tayong kaya ako lagi kayong kinakamusta. Malapit na po kasi tayong mag face-to-face. So, sine-check ko lang ang aking mga estudyante. Of course, you need to bring your COVID ID para at least makita ko naman po kung lahat po ay vaccinated. Lahat po ba kayo ay vaccinated?
Yes,
po.
Yes
po.
po.
Kasi
Yes po, ma'am.
importante yun. Maging sa pagta-take ng assessment natin, importante po yun. Tapos, Miss San Pedro, Janine. Janine ba? Janine.
Janine po. Naririnig ako, ma'am.
Opo. Yung spelling kasi ng pangalan mo rito is Janine. Tama po ba yon? Kasi yung pangalan mo rito is parang Janine, parang ganon.
J-E po, ma'am. Jenine.
Okay. San Pedro. Oh, wait lang.
May momot. May momot. Live selling ba? O tama.
Namayin ko na.
Pinakita pa yung ano ko, poster ni King. Oh.
Okay, so, dear scholar yun, avoid daw natin yung sa mga, di ba, nagla-login tayo sa computer ng may computer or nagre-rent lang tayo, di ba, may mga uso na nagre-rent lang tayo kasi may mga nahahack daw na Facebook kung saan minsan mukha niyo yung nakalagay, then sometimes they were asking for some money, they were texting some of your friends kasi may mga nahahack po ng mga Facebook account ng ibang mga co-teachers natin dito. Then they were asking for some amount. dun sa mga friends nila that I need ganito, pautang ako. So, let us protect each other. Tama? Kasi nakakatakot. Sa panahon ngayon, gagamitin yung pangalan. Kunyari ako, mag-message ako kay Ma'am Janine, kay Ma'am Maria Revi, o nangingi ako sa inyo, may Gcash ka ba dyan, Ma'am Maria Revi? Siyempre, nakita mo pangalan ko, tsaka mukha ko. Kasi sinabi ko sa inyo, kailangan ko lang pambili ng gamot ko, ganyan-ganyan. Tapos, nung magkita tayo sa face-to-face, Ma'am, kamusta na po kayo? Ay, okay naman po ako, hindi po ako nagkasakit. Doon tayo magkakaalaman na hack na pala yung aking account na wala tayong kaalam-alam. Ano po? Kaya siguraduhin na kapag ka gumagamit ng cellphone or log-in kayo sa labas, siguraduhin nyo na naka-log out kayo at X nyo po yung account ninyo. Naintindihan? Okay, so before we start, let me first do the course attendance. Then, remind lang po kayo na ang ating Zoom class today ay recorded po. Okay, for the attendance, let's first call Miss Andranida Rachel. Are you here, ma'am?
Present po, ma'am.
Barsatan Mary Jane.
Present po, ma'am.
Bosotros Erica May. Kadarao Charmaine. Clasio Maria Francia.
Present po, ma'am.
Dakaymat Florence.
Present po.
David Risa. David Risa. Habaan Neriza.
Present po.
Haraba Priscilla Ruth.
Present po.
Haza Jermaine Ann.
Present po.
Juanilio Catherine.
Present po.
Ortega Joyce Ann.
Present, ma'am.
Tatlo po kayo na hinihingan ko ng valid ID na mayroong pirma. So,
Opo, ma'am. Send ko na po sa inyo, ma'am.
Opo, tsaka sino pa yung isa? Si Bernal. Kasi magpapasa na po ng documents po si Ma'am Teresa para po ma-process na po ang inyong workshop allowance at saka po yung sa uniform na 1,000 pesos. So pag nanghingi po ako sa inyo, pakisuyo na lang po. Para at least mas madali po magtulungan tayo, mas madaling maproseso yung mga kinakailangan dokumento ng TESDA at mas madaling ma-process din yung inyong allowances, workshop allowance at ang inyong toolkit. Badil Bessie.
Present po.
Paladia Chris Ann. Paliada Chris
Present
Ann.
po.
Apiliera Liza. Kiambao Janet.
Present po.
Miros Carmelea.
Present, ma'am.
Reyes Randolph, sir, are you here?
Present, ma'am.
Juanilio Charmaine.
Present po, ma'am.
Sangilan Jenny Rose.
Present po, ma'am.
Solano Maria Revi.
Present po, ma'am.
Solano Morris Medel.
Present po, ma'am.
Olya Daryl Charlene.
Present po, ma'am. Tolo po.
Tolong. Vegas D. Ella. Wala po. Ma'am San Pedro, Monday na daw po yung t-shirt ninyo kasi yun yung pinupunta si daddy mo rito.
Sige po, ma'am.
Okay. Almerol Crisia.
Present po.
Almerol Sarah Jane. Arucan Maria Cristina.
Present, ma'am.
Aldimoro Rosemary. Balinado Maria Cristina. Nandito ba si ma'am? Batukan Kichi.
Present po. Present po.
Okay po. Sir Rolando Cabi.
Present po, ma'am. Present po.
Okay. Daato Nanette.
Present po, ma'am.
Dalisay Wilma. Esparagosa Marimel.
Present po, ma'am. Present.
Garcia Elon. Gomez Alice.
Present po.
Ibanez Amilita. Izon Maria Monica. Liagas Christine.
Present po.
Lantayo Elizabeth.
Present po.
Saria Maribic.
Present po, ma'am.
Manalo John Patrick.
Ma'am, present po.
Noguera Jenny Rose.
Present po.
Rancudo Rayan.
Present po, ma'am.
Zalerzon Lance Jasper. San Pedro Janine.
Present po.
Valiente Janice. Mila Arcado.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Again, let me remind you we're 41 in our class. Well, let me remind you that our class today is recorded. Recorded tayo. Later po isi-send sa inyo ang link through our GC po ng video. Yes po, Miss Janice Valiente. Okay po, so tomorrow ko na po isi-send yung listing po para sa face-to-face class natin. Naintindihan po, pati yung date po natin kasi chinecheck ko pa po yung date. Pero most probably kung di 25, 26 po tayo makakapag-start ng ating face-to-face. Do you have question po?
Wala po, ma'am.
Okay, kung wala naman po tayong wala po tayong tanong, let us move on to our discussion. Nakikita po bang sinishare ni Ma'am Jubel?
Yes po.
Okay, nag-stop na muna po ako ng aking show ng video po para hindi ako mawala kasi nawawala yung net ko. Okay po, so let's discuss now the core competency. Ano ang core competency? Ibig sabihin ng core competency, ito po yung pinaka topic na nilalaman ng bread and pastry. So, pag-usapan natin unang-una muna is prepare and produce bakery product. Lahat po ito ay dadaanan natin. Lahat po ito ay sabihin na lang natin is kung hindi lang dadaanan, magpe-prepare po kayo. Pag sinabing prepare and produce, gagawa, magpe-prepare, mag-mise en place. When we say mise en place, so ito type ni Ma'am Jubel, ano yung mise en place?
To prepare po.
Yes, to prepare. Ayan po yung spelling natin ng mise en place. So ayan po siya. This is the French term means to put everything in place. So meaning to say po natin, prepare. You need to conduct or you need to prepare or you need to do the mise en place first before you produce a bakery product, a pastry product, a gâteau, a tort, and a cakes, and of course the petit four. Same as well with presenting a dessert. Hindi naman po pwede na yung atin pong packaging is as is na lang. Of course, diyan na ipine-prepare din natin. So, tandaan ang spelling ng mise en place. Mise en, ang en po sa French, read as on, un, on. Mise en place. Hindi siya place ha, place, mise en place. Okay, so for the core one, today we're going to tackle more on about sa core one, prepare and produce bakery product. Yung pinaka-core ng core one, baka tomorrow pa natin matapos itong core one kasi marami pang i-discuss dito bago tayo pumasok sa topic na prepare and produce bakery product. Dadaanan muna natin ang history. Ano ba ang history? Bago ang history, dadaan muna tayo sa chef uniform. So for the chef uniform, ano daw po ba ang kahalagahan nito? So puntahan natin ito. Gaano ba kahalaga ito? Ang chef uniform, yan ang sinusuot na uniforme or tinatawag na personal protective equipment ng chef at ng pastry chef. So, pag sinabi natin na to, ito po yung sombrero na sinusuot ng chef. So, 100 folds initially signifies his status today worn for protective purpose. Next, we have here the coat. Ano naman ang purpose ng coat? Double-breasted to cover up spills and heavy cotton to insulate from heat. Apron. Pwede po ba mamang apron na ginagamit namin or gagamitin po namin sa ating activity or sa ating face-to-face is yung sinusuot namin na pambahay na apron? Yes, pwede naman po yun. Okay, apron is added protection from spill and hazard. Para hindi diretso, kunyari baka mamaya mamantsahan yung damit mo or kaya naman tumatalsik po yung hiniluluto mo. So to protect your clothes, to protect yourself dun sa paso, dun sa talsik, dun sa spill, you need to use apron. Pants, loose checkered pattern pants distract from spill and allow movement in the kitchen. So ma'am, paano naman po kung wala po akong checkered? You may use or you can use or pwedeng magsuot, di ba? Sabi natin ganyan. Pwedeng magsuot ng dark pants na kung saan po is hindi masyadong fitted sa katawan natin. Kasi ang hirap gumalaw or kumilos ng fitted ang inyong suot. Shoes, slip resilient black leather shoes prevent fall. Ma'am, paano naman po kung wala po akong clog shoes or wala akong splasher? You may use rubber shoes po sa training natin. Puntahan naman natin ang history. For the history of baking, So this is for the unit 1, introduction to baking. Demand for trained bakers is one on the rise. Baking in America, world history of baking. The emerging role of the baker, becoming a successful baker. The 4 cardinal rules of baking. Puntahan po muna natin ang demand for trained bakers is on the rise. So, anong taon na to? This was year 2010 pa. So, sabi natin dito, according to the Occupational Outlook Handbook from 2004 to 2005, approximately 173,000 workers were employed as baker. The report also indicates a rise by the year 2010. Professional bakers work in the following venues. So, unang-una is the wholesale and retail bakeries. Alam niyo yung pag sinabing wholesale, maramihan. Ang bili naman dun sa tinapay, pag sinabi nating retail, this is paisa-isa. Isang tinapay, isang ensaymada. Those are the retail bakeries. So, kung minsan mapapansin natin kung sino rin yung nagbe-bake, siya rin po yung nagtitinda. Lalo na kung if this one is a small business. Catering companies. Catering companies, sila din po ay nangangailangan ng bakers. Bakit? Kasi nga, kailangan mag-evolve yung catering companies ngayon. Hindi naman po pwede na sabihin natin na itong ating catering companies is mag-i-stick na lang kung ano ang tinda natin noong 2004, yun na lang. Ngayon nga kailangan sumabay ka kung ano yung mga produktong itinitinda, dapat meron ka din. May ino-offer ka din. May packages ka rin na ino-offer. Ma'am, bakit packages? Kasi pag catering, may packages na yan. For example, for the amount of 40K or 40,000, ito po yung mga package ng food na pwede po ninyong maging handa sa 18th birthday, sa christening, sa anniversary, lahat na ng event na pwedeng i-offer na isang catering company, kailangan iba-iba yung package nila. Okay, so mahirap ba yun? Hindi po. Kasi kung ikaw are into catering companies, kailangan lang po is magaling kang mag-costing. Supermarkets. Okay? So sa supermarkets naman po, dito sabihin na lang natin is yung venue na ito, tandaan po pag ikaw ay nasa supermarket, ang mga nagtitinda rito is those employee ng supermarket, not the baker. The restaurant, kung minsan po may baker sila doon, so siya po yung nagbe-bake, naggagawa. Okay, sabihin natin, nagde-decorate. Okay, minsan isang tao lang yun, naggagawa, nagbe-bake, nagmamasa. Siya lang yung baker. O, ito po ang baker ko, ito po ang patisserie ko para dito sa aking restaurant. Hotel and resort. Sa hotel and resort, kung minsan po, yung bake shop or bakery, hiwalay po yan sa pastry chef and candies. Pastry chef is more on sweets. Pag sinabi natin na bakery or baker, more on bread ang ginagawa nito. Cafeterias, kung minsan sa cafeterias, they just ordered pandesal or ensaymada na it should be available kung itong cafeteria na to is offering a bread na kung saan is merong cheese, merong hamburger yung mismong tinapay nila, hamburger buns, and then lalagyan na lang po nila to ng palaman. Kumbaga, sa cafeteria, kumikita sila dahil they adds on to the bread. Meron kunyari cheese lang or sabihin natin egg sandwich lang, ham sandwich lang. So sila na yung nagpapalaman dun sa tinapay. Factories. For the factories, usually ang mga tinapay na itinitinda naman dito, sabihin na lang natin is, ang tinitinda sa factories, mga nakarap na bakery product na kung saan it costs only a small amount of money. Okay, so next natin. World history of baking. It all started with bread. Bread was a simple act of crushing wheat, adding water, and left unattended, in which bacteria in the form of natural yeast become present. So, ibig sabihin, ang yeast daw po, this is the leavening agent or ito ang pampaalsa ng mga baked product natin. But not all. Tandaan natin, sa tinapay, ang yeast ang nagpapaalsa. Sa cakes, ang ginagamit na pampaalsa natin dito is the baking soda. But what about those brownies, muffins? We uses baking powder and baking soda. What about the cream puff? We use, sabihin na lang natin, we use air. O we use steam para umangat ang baked product natin like cream puff. Okay, iba-ibang baked product, iba-iba din yung ginagamit po natin na pampaalsa. Okay, so nung unang panahon, matandaan natin, the wheat, okay, the wheat seed is they just crushing it and then add water, yung sapat lang na water, and then iniiwanan po nila ito. So kaya nanganak talaga, no? Kaya po nagkaroon ng pita bread. And then there comes some of the scientists na kung saan is, sabihin na lang po natin, pinag-aralan nila na kapag naglagay pala tayo nitong natural yeast, may tendency na umangat ang ating baked product kapag iniwanan nito or pinerment ito. Okay? The bread, okay, came with each civilization. The fermentation of yeast was the start of biotechnology. The first gear of wheels were probably used to create the first flour mill. Okay, so before kasi, pag binayo natin yan, as in binabayo natin by the use of almirez or mortar and pestle, di ba? Gumagamit tayo nun para lang madurog yung seeds. Pero thanks to, sabihin na lang natin, the first gear of wheels were probably used to create the first flour mill. The art of mechanics came from the needs for bread. Grasses such as wheat, rye, rice, barley, oats, and later corn were cultivated as a bountiful food source. Okay. Eastern civilization cultivated rice. The Western world grew the grains of wheat, rye, and corn. During 1000 BC to 3000 BC, that is BC before Christ, the grain were first crushed by hand with the pestle and mortar. The Egyptian used a simple grinding stone called quern. All bread were unleavened at first. So, ibig sabihin, nung unang panahon is, pagkamasa niyan, diretso luto. Are you familiar dun sa kinakain po dun sa Ten Commandments, yung gumagawa ng pyramid? Yung kinakain po dun ng tao na flatbread. Those are the examples of unleavened, sabihin natin, unleavened bread. Familiar po ba kayo doon, dear scholar? Wala. Pasensya na kayo ha, baka natutulog na yung mga scholars ko.
Di po, ma'am.
Oh, nakikinig po. Okay.
Opo.
Okay, so the growing grains spread to the Balkans through Europe and eventually to Britain. Egypt developed bread, baking and brewing beers. So ibig sabihin, the wheat also, or the barley, also, when you brew it, makaka-create ka ng alcoholic beverage. That is so-called beer, which introduced wild yeast. Leaf bread were formed. So, sa paggawa ng beer, we also use yeast. Egyptian invented the closed oven. Kasi noong unang panahon, ang oven lang naman po is talagang, alam niyo yun, yung parang magluluto ka lang, Alam niyo yung familiar ba kayo dun sa Ten Commandments, yung nasa loob yung oven ng pugon. Pugon kasi yung oven ng araw. Walang takip. So ibig sabihin yung area ng bahay ninyo is napakainit. Okay, the bread was used instead of money and the workers who built the pyramid were paid in bread. So ibig sabihin yung mga manggagawa pala noong unang panahon is they were all paid. Pero hindi pera. Ang ginagamit nilang pambayad is the bread. During the 1000 BC to 300 BC, the yeast wheat bread became popular in Rome. A circular quern was developed. This was a circular stone that turned on a fixed stone. So ito po yung quern. Okay po. In Rome, the first baker guild was formed. Guild, this one is sa samahan. Natin kung obra yung aking video. Okay. So the guild were, sabihin natin, ito yung samahan. Okay? Samahan po ito ng parang mga ministro sa Roma. Okay? So, the Romans developed the first mechanical mixer that used horsepower. The Rome made a law that all bread should be given to all males for free. So, paano naman ng mga girls? So, next is the grain were now being dried and stored for a long period of time. So, nung araw, pagkabayo, luto agad. Okay po. So, the grains were now being dried and stored for a long period of time. So, nung araw po, pagkabayo, luto na agad po yung tinapay. So, lagyan na ng tubig and then, pwede na po nilang gawin itong pita bread. Pero, okay, sabihin na lang natin na upon nag-evolve na po yung proseso ng process or yung proseso nila ng paggawa ng flour. Ito po ay kanilang pagkabayo, ito po ay kanilang sabihin natin pinatutuyo. So, once na tuyong-tuyo or dry na dry po yung atin pong mga grains, mas matagal ang buhay nito. Naiintindihan po ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes po.
ma'am.
Nabanggit po kasi talaga ng una online classes po. Kaya nandito po na-implementing students classes namin. Wait lang po, dear scholar. Wala ko kasi nilalabas ng student, kaya nandito po nasabi sa iyo mga oras. Ma'am Teki, sino po Okay po, so let's move on to our discussion. Pasensya na po. Meron po kasi nagpo-profiling ng mga student natin. That's why may mga question lang po na ina-ask. Okay, let's move on po. Sa susunod kayo naman ang magpo-profiling. Ano yung profiling? Nire-ready na or nagpe-prepare na ng documents ninyo for assessment po. Okay, so let's move on to our discussion. Okay, so during the 50 AD to 600 AD, Saxon and Danes settled in Britain and introduced rye. So ibig sabihin rye bread na. Persian invented the windmill, which improved the quern, so it could use heavier stone. Bakers' Guild were now regulating the cost and size of the bread baked. Bread was now becoming a status symbol in Britain. The rich ate white bread, the merchant ate wheat, and the poor ate bran. So parang sobra naman pala nung araw, Pag sinabi natin na bran, ito na yung parang may mga, alam niyo po yun, yung white, ito na po yung magandang klase ng harina. Sinabi natin bran, ito yung parang may mga sapal. In Pompeii, there were community bakers oven. So during the 1150 AD to 1266 AD, King John introduced law governing the price and profit that could be made on selling bread. The first bread subsidiary was given out. It was 12 pennies. Okay, King John's introduced laws governing the price and profit that could be made on selling bread. The first bread subsidiary was given out. It was 12 pennies per 8 bushels. Okay, the first bread subsidiary was given out. It was 12 pennies for 8 bushels. So ano daw yung 8 bushels? A measure of capacity equal to 8 imperial gallons, equivalent to 36.4 liters used for dry goods and liquid. So that was 36.4 liters. Yung sabihin na lang natin is isang bustle pa lang yan So meaning to say natin, kung 36.4 liters times 8. So yun yung laki nung sinasabi nating 12 pennies. I'm going to pay for this 8 bushels. So 36, most probably 36 times 8. Ganon yung laki po nung or ganon yung kadami yung ibibigay sa'yo na tinapay o yung mga harina. Naintindihan po ba? Kasi sabi dito 12 pennies for 8 bushels of wheat. So meaning to say 36 times 8, yun yung timbang nung flour na ibibigay sa inyo once that you paid for 12 pennies. Okay, so they have question po. Clear po ba ang dinidiscuss ni Ma'am Jubel?
Yes po, clear po.
Okay, so next natin, puntahan natin ang Industrial Revolution. During 1150 AD to 1266 AD, sieves were made from Chinese silk to produce finer white flour. Siever, ito yung panala. If you're familiar with yung panala ng mga Chinese, which is made of kahoy, tapos silk yung sabihin natin, how am I going to explain this one? This one is a round around wood, na tapos parang may mga sinulid siya sa ilalim, then yung sinulid na yon, that is a silk. Naintindihan po? So, 70% of the bread eaten was white. Baking tins were now being used to make bread which allow it to be sliced and toasted. It's like yung sabi natin baking tins is like sa what do you call this one? Sa tasty bread. Okay. So yung lalagyanan po ng tasty bread, that is sa baking tins. Next, the sandwiches was invented. That was 1150 AD. The Industrial Revolution begins. Baking in America begins. In 1850, 2.027 bakeries were established throughout the USA or US. By 1850, there were 2 mixing methods for baking. So this is the so-called straight dough method, the sponge dough method. Pag straight dough method, all of the mixture will be put inside the mixing bowl. Isang mixing bowl lang nandun lahat. That is a straight dough method. Pag sinabi natin sponge dough method, you prepare first the liquid ingredients, the dry ingredients, and of course the yeast ingredients. Then, one at a time, you're going to mix first the liquid ingredients together with yeast, and then kapag na-mix po sila, that is the time naman po na pagsasamahin mo si liquid ingredients with yeast together with dry ingredients. Clear?
Yes
Clear
po.
Okay. During 1850 AD to 1900 AD, during 1868, Charles Fleischmann marketed compressed yeast. So this is the so-called Fleischmann yeast. Compress yan. The indirect oven was established which removed the direct fire and place it behind or below the oven. So yung indirect, it's like pugon na kung saan ito yung niluluto mo, this is na yung niluluto mo, ang lapit lang niya doon sa ano. Kaya may tendency na may sunog na parte talaga doon sa niluluto mo. So kasi pag magluluto lang po tayo, at yung ating apoy po ay sa ilalim, kung naiwan mo to or na-toasted mo to, ilalim talaga yung masunog. When kung pugon yan, kuminsan kung ano yung na-direct dun sa fire, yun yung mas, okay, madaling masunog. Kaya ikaw is ikot ng ikot once na nagluluto ka sa pugon. Okay? During 1893, the Simon and Will Company of Cincinnati, Ohio built the first gas-fired oven. So first gas-fired oven. A real oven was developed in 1896 by A.J. Fishman, Fish and Company. During 1876, Hunter and Sifter Company introduced the first mechanical mixer. Mechanical mixer, this one. During 1895, the first dough divider was developed by the company known as the Duchess Tool Company. During 1900, improvement to transportation introduced refrigeration which altered the American diet. So if you're going to watch yung the food that makes American, may mga ganun, that builds America, dun yung makikita yung sa refrigeration. So if you're going to be familiar with that, we're going to watch that the food that build America. Meron kasi kung napanood na ganun na kung saan dun ko nakita yung I forgot the name of that company na kung saan is nakipag-tie up siya to this company na kung saan is parang mga nakapack yung product nila, those mga peas and then fish na kung saan is they need to refrigerate it to process the fermentation. Mayroon pong gano'n na sa napanood ko, the food that build America. Kasi doon din pumasok yung Hershey, doon din pumasok yung M&M. So na-discuss ko lang or na-i-adds on ko lang because of this process na kung saan the transportation, yung transportation po is they introduce refrigeration. So nowadays kasi 'di ba, kapag itong produkto na to is naka-refrigerate, ito po yung mga produkto na madaling masisira or mapapanis kung ito pa ita-transport lang natin through room temperature. Next natin, during 1904 AD to 1929 AD, during 1904, the Allops bleaching process was discovered. So bleaching, binibleach na yung flour during that time para mas maging makinis or mas maputi, whiter yung flour. Okay, so during 1906, the Food and Drugs Act was developed to protect the flour from adulteration. In the 1900s, the FDA introduced Wheatless Day, which were Monday and Wednesday in order to promote the fruits and vegetable. Kasi carbo kasi yung tinapay. Kaya sa ibang bansa, 'di ba? It's either talaga kung makikita niyo yung mga Hollywood movie talaga, makikita niyo it's either may pasta, pizza or bread. Sabihin natin toasted bread together with pasta. Siguro merong mga ibang restaurant doon sa ibang bansa na talagang nag-serve sila ng rice, pero siguro upon request. Pero in reality, the American food talaga is mixture, the pasta, pizza, and okay. So next po natin. During 1901, B.H. Kruger was the founder of the Kruger Grocery and Baking Company. Introduced the first baking chain store. He had 14 bakeries that sold to 42 retail stores using a double-deck draw plate stock oven. Okay? So, lipat natin dito. So, this is the double-deck. Okay? So, during 1939 AD, to 1945 AD, the 1939 enriched flour was introduced by adding vitamins and iron to flour. During 1940, women were offered jobs in bakeries instead of staying home, and home delivery of bread began. During 1943, during World War II, the War Food Order No. 1 provided the mandatory enrichment of all white bread. The American Baking Institute of Chicago transformed their campus into a training facilities for the U.S. Army and Marines bakery field. Officers in support of the World War II. So, ibig sabihin, may mga American institute in Chicago na kung saan tinrain nila yung mga Marine. For example, kung makikipaglaban sila, may baker na po na gagawa ng tinapay for them. Kaya lang ako, of course, sabihin natin, they were trained as, sabihin natin, to prepare food. The question is, how are they going to, binalang natin, how are they going to prepare the baked product kung nakikipaglaban sila. But anyway, that is their mindset during that 1939. Okay, so during 1950 AD to present, the bakeries engaged in home deliveries. Bakeries went from semi to full automation in the early 1950s. The 1963 film wrapping machines were introduced. The 1968 wholesale baking increased in size and profit, while the multi-unit bakery sales increased. The profit did not. In 1970, saw an increase in supplies, especially sugar, which jumped price by 500% to 71.95 per 100%. In the early 1990s, an artisan bread gained popularity, in which has a move back to the traditional method of bread baking. In the late 1990s, everything was highly automated, and the use of enzyme and dough conditioner helped extend the shelf lives of the product. During 2004, robotic systems were used for storage, retrieval, and makeup system. It's just like the use of, familiar kayo sa gardenia, di ba sa gardenia, they just use parang robotic system na doon na walang hawak na po yung, walang manpower. Ang manpower lang nila is for the packaging. Okay, so these are the modern bakeries na ginagamit natin or ginagamit po ng mga komisarya. Do you know komisary po? Like komisary ng Red Ribbon. So dito pine-prepare yung mga product na kung saan ay tinitinda po ng bawat branches ng isang tindahan katulad ng Red Ribbon or Goldilocks. Do you have question, dear scholar? Wala po. Let's move on to our discussion. Let's move on to our next topic. Nakikita po ba yung sinishare ni Ma'am Jubel?
Opo.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So puntahan po natin itong definition of terms. What are those definition of terms? For number 1, we have acidity. Acidity, these are the sourness and the taste caused by the presence of acid in solution. Different types of fermentation produce different acids. So once na tayo po ay gumawa ng tinapay, kailangan po natin siyang idigas. So, kunyari, nag-expand na yung tinapay natin, tapos sinabi ko sa inyo, o digas mo na siya, that is punch down. Yung dough, you need to punch it down para lumabas yung carbon dioxide na na-form para hindi maging maasim yung iyong baked product. Naintindihan po. Then also, we added po like sour cream and then sour cream to create that sometimes we use as acid. And then together with cream para makagawa ng sour milk, or para makagawa ka naman ng buttermilk, you could use the vinegar, calamansi or lemon together with milk. Okay, next is we have here the alcohol. The alcohol formed during the fermentation of sugar by the yeast. So once na nagpe-ferment na po ito, so nakaka-create ka na ng alcohol. So mas nakikita natin ito kapag gagawa kayo ng beer. Pero dun sa fermentation, maaamoy nyo rin yung parang maasim. So that is the alcohol during the fermentation of sugar with yeast. And of course, ito daw po yung tinatawag natin. Ito kasi yung sabi, the same alcohol found in beer and whiskey, chemically known as ethanol. So the ethanol pala, that is sabihin natin the alcohol formed when we combine the when we combine the yeast and sugar, and then when we fermented it, nakaka-create tayo ng ethanol. Okay po. So, the ambient temperature. The ambient temperature this is the temperature of our surroundings. That is the room temperature. Antioxidant. Antioxidant is a material which when added to a product extend the life of the product by protecting it against the oxidization. The appearance. The visuals, okay, simulation, whether or not it looks attractive. That is the appearance. Ano yung appearance nung ginagawa mong dinarol, ginagawa mong cake? That is the so-called appearance. Ascorbic acid, that is the vitamin C. Baking time, the time to be complete the baking process. O, pag tinanong niyo, ma'am, baking time po nito, sabihin sa inyo, baking time niyan is, pagpasok sa oven, count ka at least 20 to 40 minutes. So, when we say 20 to 40 minutes, you need to verify kung ito po ba ay 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, check mo na yung product mo kung luto na o hilaw pa. That is the bracket time, 20 to 40 minutes. Okay? So, it depends also doon sa oven. Next is the boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius. The bake out. Bake for the full extent. Pag sinabing bake out, you need to bake the product in a full extent. Next is bake or baking, subjecting food to heat inside an enclosed area or oven. When we say we are baking, nagluluto ka sa closed, okay, sabihin natin, mainit na area na kung saan is kulob. Baker's flour, flour which produce dough having good gas retention properties and strong elasticity, usually associated with higher protein content. So, hindi lahat po ng bread ng flour natin has the higher protein content. Batch, a given quantity determined by amount needed. For example, ma'am, ito po bang niluluto namin? Yes, itong niluluto po ninyo. Ang tanong natin is, ilang batch po yan? Isang recipe po ay tinatawag na isang batch. Pag sinabi ni Ma'am Jubel, bihin natin, kayo pong dalawa, gawa po kayo ng 2 batch ng tart natin. Ibig sabihin, times 2 po yung recipe ibinigay ko pag 2 batch. Sinabi ko 5 batch, times 5 po siya. Isang recipe, isang batch. Bind, combining 2 or more ingredients into a form to form a mixture. So, sinabi natin, you need to bind, okay, the egg yolk with sugar by doing the creaming method. Need to bind it. So, ano naman yung creaming? The process of beating sugar and fats for the purpose of incorporating air. Okay, docking, punching a number of vertical impression into a dough so that the dough will expand uniformly without bursting during the baking. Dusting flour, a flour used to prevent sticking product to the bench or equipment. When we say you are dusting flour, mag-dusting ka, nagmamasa ka, mag-add ng 1/4 cup ng flour for dusting. Para habang nagmamasa ka, hindi dumidikit sa kamay mo or dun sa surface area nung lamesa. Egg wash, egg or egg yolk with some milk or water added. So sometimes, kung gusto mo na brownish yung kalalabasan ng itlog, nung itlog nung binarol na lulutuin mo, you may use milk together with egg yolk. Batihin nyo sila. And then yun yung ipapahid mo sa ibabaw ng baked product mo bago mo ipasok sa oven. Enzyme, a substance produced by living organism which has the power to bring out changes in organic materials. Fermentation, the chemical changes of an organic compound due to the action of living organism, yeast or bacteria usually producing a leavening gas. A recipe giving ingredients amount to be used in a method of combining them. Heated water entering a starch granules, rupturing it and allowing the content to spill out and form a colloidal suspension, that is a gelatinized. So once na gumawa po kayo ng soup tapos na gumamit po kayo ng pampalapot na sabi natin cornstarch, parami yung lagay mo ng cornstarch. Pag lumamig po ito, may gelatinization na siya. Next natin is glaze, a coating that is applied to baked product for protection and appearance. For example, familiar kayo doon sa donut. Yung ibabaw nun may glaze. Like the strawberry glaze. Okay, next is gluten. The protein of wheat flour which combined with water forming a rubbery mass which retain the gas and steam in baking and gives volume to the product. Kneading, to manipulate dough by folding and pressing until the required consistency is obtained. Lean dough, a dough that is not very rich in fat, sugar, and eggs, or one that contains a smaller percentage of these ingredients than the average. That is for the lean dough. Leavening, rising or lightening by air, steam, or gas, carbon dioxide, the agent for generating gas in a dough or butter is usually yeast or baking powder. So, pag sinabi natin yeast, this is sabi natin is, yung tinatawag ng iba, this is a bacteria, this is a fungus, baking powder, this is a chemical leavening agent. Leavening agent, ingredients used to introduce carbon dioxide like yeast or baking powder. Molding, manipulation of dough to provide the desired size and shape. Yung molding, for example, yung pag-roll ninyo ng tinapay, that is the so-called molding. Okay, next is oxidization, the coloring of certain fruits due to exposure to air. For example, banana, potato, talong, may oxidization yan. Kapag nahanginan na sila, nangingitim. Fruit, the rise of yeast dough during proving, usually referred to as the amount of increase in volume of the product after being shapen before going to the oven. Half proof, 50% increase in the volume, 3/4 proof, 75% increase, full proof, doubling in volume. Proofing, sinabi natin, nag-proof ako ng aking dough. Sabihin sa'yo, proof mo yan for 15 minutes. Ibig sabihin, umaangat po yung, o lumalaki pa, kasi na-peppermint pa siya. Probe, the rise of yeast dough during proving, usually referred to the amount of increase in volume of the product. Prover, a cabinet into which these goods are placed before baking. Prover. Leavening agent include ingredients used to introduce carbon dioxide like yeast or baking powder. The quark, a mild tasting curd cheese. It is a moist in texture and used in filling and topping. The rich dough, one that contains more than average of the enriching ingredients, fat, sugar, and egg. Shortening, fat or oil used to tenderize baked product. Shifting, ito yung sabi natin pagsala ng ating mga dry ingredients. Pero ang asukal, hindi natin to sinasala kasi sometimes yung ating sifter, ang ating sieve is masyadong maliliit po at pino. So, kung minsan, hihirapan po tayong salain ng asukal. Skinning, the drying out of and forming of skin on uncovered dough. Skinning, kumbaga, parang natututong to. Kunyari, naiwan mo lang to, hindi mo to na, sabi natin, hindi mo siya na-cover, hindi mo siya natakpan, hindi mo siya nalagyan ng cling wrap, nagda-dry po o parang tumitigas yung ibabaw ng dough na nahahanginan. Slack dough. Dough contain excess water. That is the slack dough. Water absorption. Water required to produce a dough of a desired consistency. Flour vary in ability to absorb water. This depends upon the age of the flour, moisture content from which it has mild storage condition and milling process. Okay, so let's move on to our next discussion. Nakikita po ba ang sinishare ni Ma'am Jabel?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes po.
Sabi ko mga estudyante ko, parang ang tahimik nila ngayon. Baka ako natutulog. Natutulog na ba ang mga estudyante ko?
No, ma'am.
Hindi po, ma'am.
Okay po. O, puntahan na natin ang next topic. Ano ba ito? The mixing method. So for the learning objectives, the student should be able to identify the different mixing method. Identify the use of each mixing method and mixing techniques. For the mixing techniques is unang-una the stirring. Mixing all ingredients together usually with spoon in a circular motion. This one is the so-called stirring. Beating, introducing air into a mixture through the mechanical agitation as it beating eggs. Okay, stir. Paghalo ng pagganito. Nakikita ba si ma'am?
Yes po.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, stir. Pag sinabi nating beat. Next po, whisking. Mabilis. By the use of wire whisk. Saan na tayo? Rolling, to flatten dough into a sheet. Pag gamit ng rolling pin. Laminating, yung na-roll mo, na-flatten mo na dough, you need to add butter and then you're going to fold it to create a layering. So yun yung gumagawa tayo ng croissant or mga pastry dough na kung saan is you need to laminate it to create 100 folds or 1,000 folds. So example of the 1,000 fold spread is the croissant or croissant. Okay? So for the mixing technique ulit natin, kneading, ito na yung pagmamasa. Pag nag-knead kayo, ito po yung ginagamit natin. Hindi po yung nag-knead ka, ito yung daliri. Kailan nangyari na nag-knead tayo na daliri yung ginamit? Okay, so creaming, fat and sugar are beaten together until light airy texture. Creaming. So, pag nag-creaming method kayo, tayo po ay nagbi-beating nun. Next is we have here the cut-in or cutting in. When we do the mixing techniques ng cutting in, we uses the pastry blender or the 2 knives crisscross. Ganito sila. The cutting in. Next natin is, next we have here the stirring, the beating, the whisking, kneading, laminating, rolling. So I want you to choose among these. This one is the cutting in. If you're going to see, this is the creaming method and this is the cutting in, and this one naman is by the use cutting in by the use of pastry blender. So is it possible to have you demonstrate, picture lang po, that you are doing the kung gusto mo, kayo kasi ang pipili nun. Among dito po sa ating pinag-aralan na 8 na mixing techniques, I want you to demonstrate. Like for example, ang napili ko ay steering. Nakaganyan ka, i-demonstrate mo siya, may picture ka. So mixing method. 4 mixing method, tas picture mo yung sarili mo. Or kaya naman magpa-picture ka dun sa kasama mo sa bahay. Whisking. Tapos flatting. Or kaya naman ikaw ay sabihin natin nagra-rolling. Then you are doing the laminating. Naintindihan si Ma'am Jubel?
Yes po.
Okay, so let's proceed to our next topic. Up to what time tayo today, dear scholar? Hanggang 3 lang, tama po? Opo. So, tomorrow na po pala ang ating continuation. 3 o'clock hanggang 3 o'clock tayo, right? 1:30 to 3:30 to 3 o'clock, tama po?
Opo.
Yes po.
Yes, ma'am.
Tomorrow po ang ating continuation nitong topic na to. Yes po, Sir Randolph Reyes. Ano po yon?
Ma'am, sorry. Ika-clarify ko lang, ma'am, yung schedule ng face-to-face natin.
Nag-send naman po ako ng training plan po sa
Opo, ma'am.
inyo.
Nandito, ma'am. Start tayo ng August 25, no? Tama po ba?
Opo.
Tapos, tas may hours na naka sa gilid nun, ma'am. Yun yung bubunuin nating hours for the face-to-face, for the training.
Sir, di ba po ang sabi ko lang po sa inyo, magbibigay po ako, for example, 25. Ang napili mong slot ng pasok mo lang, ikaw po ba ay anong batch?
Batch 3 po.
Batch 3 po. So, ang allowed po sa inyong oras po ay hanggang 1:00, 7 ng umaga hanggang 1:00. Yun pong oras na yun ay hahatiin ko po sa 2. 7 to 10, tapos 10:30 to 1.
Okay, ma'am.
Yun po ang papasukan mo dun, sir.
Antayin ko na lang, ma'am, yung schedule mo. Kasi inaayos ko rin, ma'am, yung schedule ko, ma'am.
Opo, sir. Kaya hindi pa po ako nagbibigay kasi po nagpo-propose pa po ako kay sir sa aking branch head po dito with regards dun sa schedule po kasi sasabay tayo sa face-to-face. Full face-to-face po kasi ang ating klase po.
Oo nga, ma'am. Kasi
Opo,
may
kaya
dalawang
po,
kids ako mag-face-to-face din eh. So,
opo.
kaya inaayos ko yung schedule ko.
Same as well with here, sir. Kaya yung akin magkaiba, may set A, set B pa po, 'di ba? Magkaiba sila ng araw ng face-to-face class po nila. Kaya
Oo, ma'am.
opo.
Yeah.
Syempre, kahit sabihin natin tayo po ay may mga work, so kailangan talagang anuhin natin ang ating schedule. But anyway po, most probably ngayon po ay 8-19. Baka by 22 po, magbigay na po ako. Monday, magbigay na po ako ng listing sino ang makakapasok ng ganito. Kasi Sir Randolph, hanggang 9:00 ako ng gabi dito. Meron kasi ako, di ba, set batch 3 at batch 4. Wag tayong lahat mag-9:00 ng gabi. Baka mamaya makauwi ako 1:00 ng madaling araw.
Oo nga.
Yes, kasi syempre sabi nung iba, may work po ako. Oo, naiintindihan namin lahat. Kayo gusto nyo talaga yung alwa ng oras.
Yung pinaka-flexible na oras na, ma'am.
Tanong ka namin, Debbie.
Opo, so alam ko naman po na lahat kayo ay gusto nyo ay flexible ang oras. Tama po ba? Kaya nga
Yes,
po
ma'am.
ako ay
Tanong mo si Mami Joy.
nagkaroon po ng
Wala kay Mami
4
Joy
na
yan.
schedule. Hello po, pamute lang po muna. At least po tayo. Magkaintindihan po. Kasi syempre may mga concern ng bawat isa po sa atin na kung saan po is gagawan po natin ng paraan. Kasi most probably ilang days lang naman po yung pasok ninyo. Parang 9 days. 9 days po yung pasok ninyo ng kunyari, ang pasok lang na atenan mo, Sir Randolph, is pang 10:30 to 1:30. Tapos bukas ulit, 10:30 to 1:30. Ganun lang po.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you po.
Opo, kasi paki-inform po ako ha. Kunyari, meron pong batch 4 na gustong lumipat ng umaga. Pwede naman po yun. Naintindihan po si ma'am. Kasi,
Okay, ma'am.
Opo.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Opo. Nothing to worry po. May question po? Any concern pa po? Yes po, Janine.
Ma'am, yung pagbibigay po nyo nung, di ba po ma'am kami magde-decide nung time? Either 7 to 10, tas 10 to 1. Ganun po, dalawa hahatiin. Until when po yun na pwede kami mag-decide?
Ma'am, nung mismong araw na binigay po yung listahan sa inyo. Kasi hindi po tayo pwedeng pabago-bago ng oras. Kunyari, ay bukas gusto ko panghapon ako. Ay, sa susunod na araw, ang papasukan ko na lang ganito. Kasi nga po, mayroong set schedule sa inyo kung ang napili mo pong magiging pasok mo po ay, ako po ay pang 7 o'clock to 10:30, doon ka lang hanggang sa matapos.
Oo nga po ma'am, ang ibig ko po sabihin, until when po namin ipapasa sa inyo yung, kunwari, napag-decidean ko po, 7 to 10, hanggang kailan ko po?
Ma'am, sa mismong 22 po, pag pinasa ko po yon, magbibigay po ako ng deadline na hanggang 8:00 lang po.
Okay. Sige.
Kung ang pangalan nyo doon, ako na maglalagay kung saan po kayo. Okay po ba yon?
Okay, thank you po.
Kasi mahirap po mag-iintayan tayo kung saan ba talaga to. For example, si Sir Salarson, hindi pa siya nakakapagsulat. Kuminsan, nailagay ko na yung pangalan niya. Kasi nga po, nakausap ko siya, na-PM ko siya. Kaya wag po kayo magulat, minsan tinatawagan ko kayo ng diretsyo. Lalo na kung nakikipag-message na po kayo sa akin, wag naman magagalit kung hindi ko po kayo na-i-add pa, na-accept pa po. Kasi minsan ang dami ko rin pong kausap kaya hindi ko na nakukuhang mag-check doon sa aking mga request. Pero i-check ko din naman po yon. Paintay lang po. Wait po, magsisend lang po ako ng link ng ating YouTube sa Okay po, so paki-open na po ang ating mga cam para po makapag-picture si Ma'am Jubel. Okay, open your cam. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Smile po. Okay, next. 1, 2, 3. Okay po, so mayroon pa po bang katanungan? Kung wala na pong katanungan, di na ako magtatanong. What have you learned for today? I know naman maraming natutunan for today. See you po tomorrow. Magbibigay na lang po ako ng link for our class tomorrow. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you po.
Thank you po. Thank you, ma'am.
Permission to leave po. Maraming salamat.